They thought killing the prince would end the prophecy, but what rose from the ashes was something far worse. In the kingdom of Aldora, Prince Kael was a beacon of hope. His kindness was known throughout the land, and his people adored him. But a shadow of jealousy lurked in the one place he felt safest, the royal palace. One night, as he walked the familiar stone corridors, the metallic clang of drawn swords echoed around him. Royal guards, men he'd known his entire life, now surrounded him with cold, unfamiliar eyes. From the circle of steel stepped his own father, the king. His voice was a venomous whisper. "You were born with power this kingdom was never meant to see." Before Kael could react, a blade pierced his heart. The betrayal was swift and absolute. His own guards, on the king's command, dragged his body to the edge of a deep ravine and threw him into the darkness below. As the rain began to fall, washing away the blood and the memory of the fallen prince, the kingdom fell into a silent, mournful night. But death was not the end for Kael. His body, broken and lifeless, fell through the chasm and into a hidden, subterranean cavern. The air hummed with an ancient energy, and as he landed softly on a moss-covered stone, strange runes etched into the walls began to glow with a brilliant, ethereal light. The cavern itself seemed to breathe, and a deep, resonant voice echoed from a colossal stone figure at its center. Child of the forgotten bloodline, awaken. A gasp tore from Kael's lungs as celestial energy, pure and overwhelming, flooded his veins. The pain vanished, replaced by an unimaginable power. His dark hair turned a brilliant silver, and his eyes opened, now glowing with a piercing, neon blue light. The wounds on his body sealed, leaving no trace of the betrayal. The prince hadn't died, he had evolved. He was no longer just a man, he was something more. Days later, a figure emerged from the edge of the royal forest, wrapped in a divine, pulsating aura. A group of hunters, tracking a stag, stopped dead in their tracks. Their eyes widened in disbelief. One of them stammered, That's the prince. But he's glowing." They thought he was a ghost, a vengeful spirit returned to haunt the living. Fearing this supernatural being, they drew their bows. Arrows whistled through the air, aimed directly at his heart. Kael simply raised a hand. A wave of blue light rippled from his palm, and the arrows froze in midair, inches from his chest, before clattering harmlessly to the ground. The hunters stared in awe and terror. This was not the kind-hearted prince they remembered. He was no longer human. He was something beyond their comprehension, a force of nature given form. News of the prince's return spread like wildfire, reaching the throne room and the ears of the trembling king. "Your Majesty, Kael is alive." Panic gripped the king. The prophecy he had tried to extinguish had instead been ignited. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. He roared for his army, sending hundreds of his best soldiers and mages to intercept Kael before he could reach the capital. They found him on the open plains, walking calmly toward the city. The commander, a veteran of 100 battles, felt a chill run down his spine, but his duty was clear. The army encircled Kael, swords drawn, magic crackling in the air. "Prince or monster, you'll die here." The commander's voice boomed. Kael didn't even look at him. He simply closed his glowing eyes. A silent pulse of pure energy burst outward, a shockwave of force that sent the entire army flying backward. Soldiers were thrown like dolls, their armor dented, their formations shattered, yet none were fatally wounded. Kael opened his eyes and whispered, his voice carrying across the field, "I didn't come to kill you, but don't stand in my way." He continued his walk, the parted army too terrified to move. If you're loving the story so far, hit that subscribe button for more anime-style movies like this. As Kael approached the city gates, a familiar figure ran to meet him. It was Lyra, his childhood friend and royal advisor, her face pale with shock. "Kael, they said you were dead." She looked at his glowing form, her fear mixed with relief. Shaking, she revealed the truth the king had buried. The king lied to everyone. He spread rumors that you were cursed, that your birth foretold a great disaster. But it was all a lie. She took a deep breath. "You weren't cursed. You're the heir to the ancient guardians." The prophecy wasn't about destruction. It was about the return of a true protector. The king tried to erase you to protect his own illegitimate rule. The pieces clicked into place. The power he now wielded wasn't a curse. It was his birthright. A cold, divine fury rose within him. Kael clenched his fist, and the air around it crackled, glowing blue fissures appearing in reality itself. His voice was low, laced with thunder. "Then the king will answer for what he has done." Kael didn't walk to the throne room. He stormed it. The palace doors burst open as if struck by a battering ram. The elite royal guards, the same ones who had betrayed him, charged forward, only to be thrown aside by an invisible force, their armor crumpling as they hit the walls. Kael strode into the grand hall, his silver hair flowing, his eyes burning with celestial fire. The king scrambled up from his throne, his face a mask of pure terror. "You were supposed to die," he shrieked, his voice cracking. Kael stopped before the dais, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the king's panic. "And you were supposed to protect your people." Desperate, the king unleashed a forbidden crimson magic, a dark, chaotic energy that twisted the air and promised only oblivion. In response, Kael channeled the pure celestial power thrumming through his body. A beam of raw, dark red magic met a torrent of brilliant, serene blue light. The two forces collided in the center of the room, shaking the palace to its foundations, tearing through stone pillars and shattering stained glass windows. The king's desperate power was no match for Kael's birthright. The celestial beam easily overpowered the crimson magic, pinning the king to his throne with chains of divine light. Kael's voice echoed in the ruined hall. No more lies, no more fear. The king screamed as he was consumed by the very prophecy he had so desperately tried to escape. In the aftermath, Kael stood over the ruined throne, his powerful aura slowly fading as the sun began to rise. The celestial light in his eyes softened. Lyra approached him cautiously through the debris. "What will you do now?" she asked, her voice quiet. Kael turned and looked out at the sunrise, visible through the shattered palace windows. A new day was dawning, not just for him, but for the entire kingdom. He turned back to her, a hint of the kind prince she once knew returning to his face, now forged with the strength of a god. Become the king they deserve. And so begins the rise of a prince born from death and reborn as a legend.